The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. As Jesus passed by, he saw a man named Matthew sitting at the customs post. He said to him, "Follow me." And he got up and followed him. While he was at table in his house, many tax collectors and sinners came and sat with Jesus and his disciples. The Pharisees saw this and said to his disciples, "Why does your teacher eat with tax collectors and sinners?" He heard this and said, "Those who are well do not need a physician, but the sick do. Go and learn the meaning of the words, 'I desire mercy, not sacrifice.' I did not come to call the righteous, but sinners." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Happy Fiesta and a blessed weekend to all. The call of Saint Matthew, or in the Gospel of Saint Mark, he is named Levi, is actually done after the first four disciples were called, who were fishermen. So in other words, Matthew or Levi was called by Jesus, according to the Synoptic Gospels, the fifth one, the fifth disciple or apostle to be called. Now the context of the first four disciples being called as fishermen has something to do with the mission of Christ to reach out to catch men. And the call of Saint Matthew is another interesting dimension or direction, because this particular imagery or description or sometimes accusation of his being a tax collector practically brings us into the picture that God, as he is trying to reach out, like the fisher of men, what we call the fisher of men perspective, that he is trying to reach out to people who are outside of the community, the ostracized, the so-called rejected, the so-called criticized in the world, the so-called controversial. And so Saint Matthew, being the fifth disciple or apostle to be called, represents those coming from the outskirts, the sinners, as the Pharisees would call him. But then a very beautiful, an interesting dimension of the personality of Saint Matthew is his immediate response to the Lord's bidding, "Follow me." He did not say any word. He just got up and he followed him, just like that. And this is sometimes very much reflective of certain characteristics or certain attitudes that we have. Usahay, di na ta usay gani maghuna-huna, because, well, maybe precisely because there is something deep within us that really pushes us. Sometimes we do not make any what we call calculations in our mind, or sometimes even argumentations. And this is a very beautiful act of response. However, this response is just one step. The other step and the proceeding steps in the journey of the faith should always be dedicated or considered in the way that how we think of ourselves is also part of the very question, why am I, or why we are called. The very controversial figure of Saint Matthew is also a very interesting dimension in trying to put that into perspective. Because there are many stories that you have heard perhaps, that there are now people who are serving the Lord, who are now even in the list, in all those people who are serving the people of God. And then certain stories about them, their backgrounds. Sometimes they cause controversy, and these controversial issues are even picked up by certain men of influence in order to destroy the church. But that should not give us all the discouragements that we feel. Because the Lord came, according to the final part of today's gospel reading, based on the prophet Hosea's description of it is mercy I desire and not sacrifice is that we are all called sinners or otherwise. And this is the very beautiful gift that we receive. And part of that being gifted, Saint Matthew's name, which means gift and also means disciple or follower, practically is placed at the center of today's celebration. We are all called, we are all gifted despite our sinfulness. And we should thank God profusely for that and continue our journey of faith and hopefully bring others with our journey along with us as we move forward towards the greatest gift that God will give us, because we are all gifted as well. Amen.